In this video, we're going to be diving into ClickUp 3.0 and whether or not it can save you one day a week. What's up, friends? Paul here, and today we're going to be diving into ClickUp 3.0. Perhaps you're like me and you like exploring different productivity tools and tactics, and that's what we're going to be doing today. Is we're going to be exploring a productivity tool called ClickUp. It is a project management tool. For those that aren't familiar with a project management tool, basically it's a more robust task manager. It's something that can help you manage larger projects with multiple people on your team, or sometimes people like to use it for their personal projects. So if that's anything that you're interested in doing, stick around. This is one of the things that I believe ClickUp at one point guaranteed. I think at this point, it's now their motto, at least on their website, it says this. We'll see if they live up to this motto, but they say save one day every week. If at any point you want to try ClickUp, feel free to use my link in the description. It's my affiliate link. Basically, this app claims to be the one app to replace them all your work in one place. It has tasks. You can have whiteboards, dashboards, chat, goals, docs. Basically it's the one app to rule them all, according to them. It has over 10,000 reviews on platforms like G2, Capterra, GetApp, a lot of these app reviewing platforms. So they're definitely well reviewed. As you can see, let me pull this up. Let's see. They're used by many different companies, like you can see here, Logitech, IBM, Spotify, Netflix. My guess is that these are probably certain teams on those. I'm not certain, but I'm guessing not everyone on, let's say Netflix or IBM is completely using this as the only project management tool. Could be. Not sure. But yeah, that just goes to show you some of the people that are using this app. As the video opened, that was ClickUp that you saw. That was the home screen. We're going to be diving into everything that you ever wanted to know about ClickUp. Just a little bit of a background. I've tried many different project management tools, some including Asana, Monday.com, Notion, Airtable, if you consider that to be, Notion is also a question mark to be a project management tool. But those just give you an idea of some of the platforms that I've tried, and I've tried many others, but those are probably the more notable ones that you'll recognize. And then just so you know, I've used ClickUp on and off for about over 2 years now. In this video, I'm going to share with you what I love about ClickUp and some of the things that I'm not a big fan of. So if that's what you're interested in, be sure to stick around. Before we dive into the video, please smash that like button and subscribe. I would love to have you in the channel fam, so be sure to do that. So first off, what makes a good project management tool? So here are some of my criteria. Obviously, yours might be a little bit different, but overall, it should have a good UI and a UX. What does that mean? A good user interface and a good user experience. Because what I found is that if it's something that's easy to use and you enjoy using it, you're more likely to stick with it and the rest of your team that you're working with. If it's something that's more tedious and time consuming to get started, you're probably not likely to adapt it. And then the other aspect is it has to have a good system. Don't add software just for the sake of software. That's not helping. That's introducing complexity, and you don't want to introduce complexity for the sake of complexity. And then does it fit into your processes and systems already there? So it should augment what you're doing, not take away from what you're doing. And then lastly, is the price right? Is this going to be worth it for both the upfront cost of what the product costs itself, but then also the cost of time to implement, the cost of getting started with it? So we'll dive into all of those three elements, and So be sure to stick around to the end as we dive into all these elements. This is going to be a very in-depth review. So buckle up, grab yourself a cup of tea, cup of coffee, and we will dive into this episode. I'm going to start off actually by giving you an idea of what the onboarding experience looks like. So if we go down here, I'm going to actually click New Workspace. And so here, when you go to set up a new workspace, basically you can set the name. So let's call this Paul's Awesome workspace. Obviously, you'd probably put in your business name, or if it's an individual, you might put your name, but that gives you an idea. So we're going to click next. And so here you're going to select your avatar. So you can upload a picture of yourself if you want it to be a personal workspace, or your logo, company's logo. That's probably what you'd want to do. Or otherwise, you can just select a color that you want. I'm happy so far. So let's continue on. And then how many people we'll be working with. So for this one, I'm just going to select just me. And then do you use any of these project management tools? So basically, they want to help you import any of your other tasks that you might have been using. Let's say you were using Todoist for your personal task and you want to bring that in, you can do that. But sometimes it's good to start fresh. There's a thing called a to-do bankruptcy, where people basically they end up declaring they're done with a certain tool and they are ready for a new tool. And so maybe that's you just declare to-do bankruptcy and you're starting fresh. So we'll say no thanks. And then with that, that's it. Now go and change the world, and don't forget to have fun. So here we go. Let's play with ClickUp. And so they're going to set up the workspace for us. And right away, you're brought into one of the space views. But before we dive into that, I would actually like to take you home. So this is the home view. It's actually really neat how they lay this out. I love that they have a lineup feature where basically you can drag tasks up here so that maybe there's just like those most important tasks that you should be working on. For example, it might be a project for a client. Maybe it's you have to get your taxes done. You name it. That's a great place for you to put it first and foremost. And just to give you an idea, so this currently the workspace that we're in ClickUp 3.0. However, the home screen that you're seeing is actually not the newest home that will eventually become what the home screen experience is like for ClickUp 3.0. So let me show you what that looks like right now. So ClickUp 3.0, they've already released many of these features for some of the workspaces. Some people haven't gotten it yet. So if that's you, I'm sorry, but hopefully they'll be able to release it to you soon. But this is the future of what this home screen will look like. And I'm pretty excited for it. It's a very clean, minimalistic looking. I like the way that they have this with a personal list so that you can manage some of your personal items. You got your agenda on the side. You can customize it. You got your My Focus. So that I'm guessing will replace the lineup. I love it how they have a numbered, like the order that you're going to focus on. You can change the background. They have different cards. So super exciting stuff. But again, that's not what you'll see currently. But something to look forward to in the future. So this is what it looks like right now. Woohoo, you're all done for the day. So let's actually go ahead and add a task. Let's say record TBM show, which is what I'm doing right now. So we're going to do that. We're going to create the task. We actually have to create a list, and we'll call this content calendar since I don't have one of those yet. So I'll click enter and we'll select that. And basically you can add subtasks from here, add a checklist. So let's say record podcast, and then another one might be edit thumbnail. So you can do this all within just creating the single task, and then you can make it recurring. So let's say I want to make this weekly, recur forever. And this is where it gets a little bit complicated. So they have different options that you can trigger the recurrence when the task is moved to the last status. So when it's complete, when done, when it's moved to a done or complete status, or on schedule, no matter what, this task is happening. Right now, I'm going to leave it to when closed. And you can also select it to create a new task. Maybe there's certain ones that you want to bring over or certain ones that you want to not bring over. For now, I'll just leave it like that. And then you can decide how many times you want it to repeat, or if you want it to end on a date. So that's what it looks like to create a task. And then once you're ready to let that task live into the world, we'll click create. And there we go. And there you see it right there. I don't know if did I put a date on it? Oh, there it is. There it is. It is there. Okay. And so what I can do now is, like I said, is I can add it to my lineup so that I know that's something I should be working on. This is the task view. We're going to dive into that further in a moment, but This just gives you an idea. And then you can see like trending if there's like some tasks there. There's some tasks that like you're using a lot or people are referencing, you can see, or tasks that you've worked on the most today. That's what they say. You have a section for your comments, any of your completed tasks, any delegated tasks, and you can see any unscheduled tasks. And they also have what they're called reminders. And that's basically a simple version of a task. It's really not a task. It's just kind of like a way that you can just remember, like call so and so. And that's what it looks like. You can delegate them, you can add to a list. So I guess you can convert it, you can snooze it, but you don't get as much functionality as you do with like the tasks, where like you can add a description, you can add checklists, you can have subtasks, you can have like these details, custom fields, an activity where you can put in chats. So it's a little bit less customizable. And then what I love about ClickUp is they also have the ability to open up a calendar view. So you can already see that I added my task, record TBM show. And if I click on it, it brings me to the task view. And you can also import any of your personal calendars that you have so that you can see that all in one place. You can color tasks by status, list, create subtasks, add the subtasks, future recurring tasks. You see it there. You can have an agenda view. So I see that I've got that due. If you have any mentions. So that's just an overview of the home page. And then next, before we dive into the actual spaces, I want to just quickly dive into what the hierarchy of ClickUp is. So basically, the way that ClickUp is organized is you have a workspace. And then within those workspaces, you have spaces. And then you can have lists within them. And then you can have those lists within a folder. So this is just like an overview of the organizational structure. And then within lists, you have your tasks. You can see each of these are a task. You have subtasks. So within a task, you can have a number of subtasks. Then you can have nested subtasks. And then you're getting a little crazy. But then you can also have checklists, like if there's something that you do on a regular basis and you need to have that recurring, you can do that as well. You can save these as templates, make it nice and easy for the next time you have to use it. So that's just a quick overview of that. And then next up, we're going to dive into, just to show you real quick, you can create a checklist here. So the difference of checklists and subtasks is that you can assign people, but you can't add a date. And this is where I'd recommend using subtasks instead of a checklist, because checklists, you can't assign like a due date. So if there's like a specific time that you need to record this, like I need to record this today, you can't set that on the action item list. You can only set that on a task list. You can also set make a list of tasks within the description. So that's another option. So you can just check them off as you go along. So that's really neat. And the other neat thing about ClickUp is it has these custom fields. So if I go here, I can have let's say I want to track the progress of it, see where I'm at with it. I can hit there and then I can just call this progress bar. And you can track the completion of these various elements. So that looks good. Display 100% when task is in a done status. So we'll create that and we'll close that off. So here you can see it right here. Let's say I complete this, then you can see that it updates right here, which is really neat to be able to have that update like that. So that's a quick overview of some of the functionality of tasks and this home screen here. Next, I want to talk about workspaces. So you have workspace, spaces, folders, lists, tasks, subtasks, nested subtasks, checklists. Those are basically the hierarchy of ClickUp. So here, these are workspaces. So basically, if you have an organization, that would be a workspace. If you have a different department, those could be individual spaces. There's just a different ways of organizing, depend on how best works for you might even create a personal workspace. Completely up to you. The beauty about ClickUp is they have the ability to see everything in one place. So I can go to the calendar and I can see that I need to record this on this date, and it draws from any spaces. So let's say, we create a new space and we'll call this business, let's say. And they do have templates, which, might be helpful for getting ideas, but honestly, I'd highly recommend building it yourself. There's so many advantages to building it yourself because then you're not adding clutter that you might not need. And so this is what I'd recommend. Just start out, name it whatever you want to name it. This is for managing client work and other business tasks. You can do whatever you want for the description. And let's see, I'm going to use a light bulb and let's make it blue. Go next. And then you can set it to private and decide who you want to share it with. But for now, I'm just going to share it with anyone that's a member of my workspace. And so next you can set up your statuses. And this is where I would say, keep it simple. Don't add too many statuses. Keep it simple. The nice thing about having only 2 statuses, like to do and complete, is that they give you a checkbox. Otherwise, you're going to have to manually click it and then click the different status. They do have I think, ability to click complete in some views, but sometimes it's nicer to keep it very simple. They have Kanban, so with multiple statuses. For now, I'm just going to select the Kanban just to show you what it looks like with multiple statuses. So let's go next. And then you can turn off and on ClickApps. So ClickApps basically give you the ability to turn on certain features like sprints, time estimates. There's a bunch of great integrations that they have. So time estimates I'll turn on, sprints I'll turn on. You can even show more. You can have sprint points, milestones, show status progress, and reschedule dependencies. So basically what that does, if something's blocking it, you can set it so that this needs to get done before this task or this task. You can have that automatically move the dependent tasks. If let's say you didn't get to a task and you need to push it off to a later date, it will automatically reschedule those other ones. You can set work in progress limits, but some of these are the upper plans. So this is currently just on the free plan. I mean, it's amazing how much functionality you get with just a free plan. And then they have tons of different views. I'm actually just going to turn them all on so that you can see what they look like. But honestly, I would suggest just keeping the ones that you need or you'll use. So for example, list view is great. Board view is great. Calendar is great. And to be honest, those are probably the 3 that I stick to most of the time. So we'll review the space. They give you all the details that we set. And we'll create the space. So as you'll see here, you can see all of the different views right up here. Okay, so now that we've got our list made, let's rename this list and let's call this projects. And then let's make a new list and let's call it retainers. So maybe you have one-off projects and then you have reoccurring projects. And then let's create a new one again. And this one's going to be for business. So just general business to-dos. And then let's create a folder just so you can see what that looks like. And we're going to name this clients. And that looks good. Create folder. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to bring these into here. This is completely up to you. I like to keep things very simple, and I'll explain this later. But basically, someone might have it where they have an individual list for each client. They may even have an individual folder for each client. Maybe they have multiple projects for that client, completely up to you. Or maybe you have a project that you want multiple lists for. But my personal preference is keeping it as simple as possible. So instead of creating an individual list for each client, what I would recommend, if you don't have a very complex system, is just keep it. Oh, did it get rid of my folder? Oh, there it is. Okay. So we're going to add this to that folder and we're going to add this to the folder. And then now you can see progress on each of these items. I mean, I guess on one, you can set due dates for the list, which is kind of unique. You can set the priority, who's owning that project or list. And so let's say one of them is marketing campaign for so-and-so business. You wouldn't really do that, but just to give you an idea, let's say this is in progress. So this is where I'm talking about. You can set the different statuses. they've added this. Before you'd have to like click here and then click close, but now you can mark complete, which is great. However, when you're in this view, you do have to click on here and then click closed. So that's what I mean about having one status, is like just clicking that would close it. So just keeps it a little bit more simple. And so that's that. And then let's put a due date on that for the end of the week. Very quick marketing campaign. And that's top priority, urgent. And you can add multiple columns. If you're using the paid version, you can use all these custom fields, but keep in mind, if you're on the free version and you start using these, you only get like, I want to say like 100 uses. And then like, once you use them up, that's it. And I had to find this out the hard way. Each use is basically, I thought it was like, you might have like 100 custom fields that you can use, but it's actually, you can use them 100 times or so. And as soon as you like change it 100 times, like you set, let's say in this custom field, like a label, and you change those labels 100 times, like add a custom label for each time it uses up one. So just keep that in mind. And so show and hide, these are like the pre-built custom fields. So like time estimate, show hide, time tracked. And the other one that I like is progress auto. And so we're going to call this progress bar, add column. And again, you can see the progress here. Maybe, for example, I don't need to see the assignee, especially if you're just one person, so you can hide that. And if you ever want to re-show it, you can just click here and then click on the assignee. But it's very clean and minimalistic. I love that they have time tracking. Like this to me is like probably the best feature of ClickUp is the time tracker. Like one of the things that sets it apart is that they do have time estimates. So let's say, I believe that this project's going to take 50 hours. And that way you can see where you stand. And then you can simply start the timer. Oh, interesting. So it looks like, I didn't know this. It looks like they now have time tracking only available to paid members. So that's something to keep in mind. It doesn't look like they have the time tracking available anymore for the free version. So let me see if it will let me. Yeah, okay. That's sad. I didn't realize that. So these are some of the custom fields that you can add. You can add a progress bar. So again, if I go in here and create a subtask, I create paid ad number 1, and let's mark that closed. Now the progress bar is at 100% because we've completed all these subtasks. And that just shows you what that looks like. So this is the list view that you see here. You can toggle between the different views here. So this is what the board view looks like. You can easily move it around. Another cool feature of ClickUp is that you can actually create these comments. This is a comment, and you can add these links. So let's say https google.com. Let's send it. What I like about the comments here is that you can simply add a comment, and then you can, if there's links available in the comments or anywhere in here. So for example, if I take my name and then I insert a link like that, press enter. So now it's a link. Now I do believe this should be, let me refresh it. So there, now it has both the Google link and my website listed, and you can have two different views of that. You can copy the URL, open a new window, and so it just makes it really nice and easy to access the important links that you might have included into this task. And then with comments, you can actually, you can add a reaction, you can assign, so maybe you have to take action on it. So this is something that I've been doing more often, is instead of creating subtasks, sometimes I just create a assigned comment. And that way I know there's something that I need to go back to without having to add a subtask or a checklist or a checklist within the description. And the neat thing, let's say this is important text. So now if I close out of this task, if I hover over this little icon here, you can see all of the details here. I can even click on this link here. I can't check these off yet, but I mean, just to have this quick glance without even having to open it up, that's a huge advantage over some other tools out there. I can see the assigned task as well. So you can see here, I can click resolve and then look the progress bar I completed there. And so it's just like a really great way for you to quickly, see information without having to go into a task. I can even, let's see here. So let me add back that, or I'll just add a new task. This is a subtask. And then let me get out of this view. And you can see now, if I drop this down, you can see the subtask is nested underneath. This can have a due date as well. That's end of the month. And then what I can do is I can just keep creating tasks right in here. Or one of the neat features is, let's say you're working on this task and you need to reference it. You can always minimize the task. And what that does is it puts it on the bottom here. So I can quickly go back to it. And so let's say I also need this subtask minimized. So you've got both of those there, and I can just quickly click into it and get access to it. So it just makes it really handy if there's those like projects that you're working on and you just need like quick access to. Another feature that I love is that they have this favorites section. So I can pin that to the top. Right now I don't have any favorites. One thing, this is a hack. So you have this everything view, and this is where you can view all of your spaces and lists available. But I can go in here and go to the calendar, and I can see like all the upcoming tasks. I can even customize this. So I want to have subtasks because sometimes those are important too. And so I can see that right there. You can change the status right in the calendar view. It's great. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this and I'm going to add to favorites. So I'm going to call this calendar. So I can just see. And so right up here now, let's say I go away. I'll just click a random space. I can just click calendar and I'm right there. I got all the upcoming tasks that I have available. You can see everything in a different view. Like they've got the Gantt timeline. Some of these, again, might be paid, but it's amazing how many options they have available. Let's say you have a chat. You can set up a chat for, let's say, the whole workspace. Let me show you what that looks like. This is a chat. Eventually, it might be good enough that you can replace something like Slack. I'm not sure if it's quite there yet, but it's neat that they're working on this so that potentially you don't have to go anywhere. You can find everything that you need in one place. You can mention somebody, mention a task, add emoji, / command. So if I do the / commands, it's just like Notion. Like they just give you so many different things that you can add within. And this works also for like the descriptions or docs. It's amazing how much functionality that you get in ClickUp. It's both a blessing and a detriment. I will say that because there's so many things that you can do. So project for client. And so what I'm going to show you real quick. So this one has the different statuses, which you can view in board. But this one, I'm going to go ahead. Okay, so yeah, this one only has, I think, 2 statuses. So let's edit more settings, all space settings. Okay, so task status. So yeah, it just has to do and complete. So now if I create a new task, if I click, it just sets it to closed. So it's not like I have to go in there, click it, and then set it to close. It's just one click, which is very convenient. They have docs. So let me show you what that looks like. It's very similar to Notion. It's very, you can add a cover. You have like the UN Splash integration. So you can like search different images. Let's say you want this one with the camera. You can reposition it, say position. You can add an icon or emoji. So let's say that. And what I like to do with this is I've used both Notion and ClickUp for this, but you can create a client dashboard, which makes it very easy for them to access the important information. So for example, you might create a banner, let's say green. Important information lives here. And what you might do is, so you can create an emoji, but like you can add like a link to, maybe you have an upload page so that they can easily upload any information. You can link to any tasks or other documents so that it's just very convenient. You can check out the page details. They give you some customization here. They give you the, templates. Also, ClickUp now has AI. So if you have like one of the paid versions or you pay for the AI, you can have that available as well. I just found out this looks like it's actually a paid feature if you want to share it publicly. Unfortunately, now you will need to have a paid version of it, so that this is a business plan only feature. I'm learning this as I'm making this tutorial because this is something that I used to use quite a bit, and now I'm finding out that it's not a free version anymore. So something to keep in mind. But yeah, it's a really convenient way. You can even invite people into your workspace. So you can just invite them by email. They can be a member or admin. So once you create your docs, you'll be able to go to this tab over here, docs, and you can see all of the different ones that you've created. If you go to everything, this is actually pinned to the top, but sometimes you can have like a space view. So if you have any docs that are in this space, you can see them right here. If I add a doc, you can add pages, page 2. And I believe you can nest somewhat similar to Notion, not quite as databasey yet, as far as I know, but you can nest page within a page. So you can get crazy. Let's say, maybe you have meetings. So this is like the meeting homepage. And then you have like for each meeting, you have an individual page. So something to consider. And then once you've got that set up, you can see all your tasks, list view, overview of the space. You can see how many things are left. And so similar to this favorite here, I can go in and like, let's say clients, I want to see a list view of all my client work. I can go ahead and add to favorites and then clients. And so, I can quickly toggle between these different elements for the most important or most informative information. You can, again, create like custom drop downs, text, dates, numbers, checkbox, email, files, location, money, all of these different functionalities. So for example, rating, you could have a customer rating. Who's your favorite and add. And so let's say you want to, this is this customer. You can do something like that. But again, that's going to be a paid feature once you use a certain number. So keep that in mind. But yeah, it just makes it really easy for you to customize it the way that you want. I think that's one of the things that ClickUp is really good about is customization and having the different views that you want to see. They do have what's called an app center. So some of the integrations that they have built in, so you can sync between your Google Calendar and ClickUp, Google Drive. Some of these I think are for the paid version. Like I think Google Drive, you need to have a paid version to see that. You can use their Chrome extension. Just gives you some of the ways that you can integrate ClickUp. I do use Zapier, however you say it, as part of my workflow. So just to describe what you could do with it is, for example, let's say you have projects and somebody submits you have a client that has, let's say, they have a podcast and they need to submit to you the audio files for you to edit for them. What you can do is have like a Google form and then have them fill that out and have like fields like a date for a due date, like when do they need it back by. You can have a description, like maybe there's details that you need to hear about, and then have them upload the files to that Google Drive. And then basically what I do is I have it automatically take all that information. And what it'll do is it'll create a new task with like the project name. And then it will have like, let's see here, the due date. So maybe it's like that. And then within it, so I'll just show you what like it would look like. It would have like all the project information, who submitted it, when it's needed by, and like this due date would automatically populate with the information they put in, which is fantastic. And so it just makes it a lot easier to, get that in without having to like manually, okay, this is information from Google Forms. Now let me put it into my project management. It's just done automatically for you. You can even favorite a task You can switch layout. So they have a full screen version. They have a sidebar, very similar to a ClickUp. Notion, if you're familiar with that. They do have sprint points. So you can set like sprints up. Let me show you real quick what that looks like. So you can create a sprint folder and you can set the duration. You can create what this looks like, all these details. I'm just going to save it just so you can see what it looks like. And then you can add a new sprint and you can set the parameters, create sprint, and then you can add tasks. And this is one of the cool things about ClickUp is that you can have a task in multiple locations. So let me close out of this. I'm going to select this, and this is some of the things that you can do. You can set watchers, set assignees, set status, set tags, convert to subtasks, move to multiple lists. So this is what we're going to do is we're going to go into the sprint folder and sprint 1, and we're going to actually add it. We're not going to. So this is also a paid feature. I'm discovering this all. So it's actually a paid feature to have it in multiple lists now. So if I go in here and try to add it to another list, it is a paid feature. So unfortunately, it looks like you can only move it to the sprint. So maybe sprints aren't as useful as they once were on the free version. They do also have these other functionalities as well. So let me just show these. So they do have whiteboards. So what a whiteboard looks like. This is a test whiteboard. We'll create one. And so you can do these different templates. So let's say we want to use a flowchart. So you can illustrate what things look like, zoom out, move things around, make it really weird looking. You can have a website, all these different functionalities all within it. So a great way to probably visualize things. Maybe you're in a meeting and want to share ideas. Add a sticky note, add text. So all this great functionality right within. And then you see it. It's now a whiteboard for everything. And you can probably do that on the individual lists folder. I believe whiteboards is also like you get to use it a couple times before it becomes a paid feature. So it's something to keep in mind. Okay. And they have dashboards. So you can create a dashboard. Again, this is probably a paid feature, but let's say we'll want a simple dashboard. This gives you an idea of what you can do with it. You can import tasks. You can set like parameters for filtering it, include subtasks, the location. So let's say we want all of these, save, and now we'll bring in all of your tasks into one place. I believe you can also, so like they have a chat widget. You can add all these different cards. Some of them, again, are paid versions. But yeah, it just gives you an idea of what you can do with it. And then you can have goals as well, which is really cool. So you can, this is a goal. And then who's the owner? Me. Okay. And you can either make it private or to the workspace. What's the end date? Let's say end of the year. Close. Okay. This is my awesome goal. And then you can also use those same commands. So if you want to put like different elements inside of it, you can do that. And so we'll click OK. And so now this is the awesome goal. And then you can create a target. So what's a target? Target number 1. Again, myself as the owner. Okay. And so you can set it to various things. Let's say it's a number of tasks completed, currency, show me the money, it says. So let's say you have a goal of $30,000 in a quarter or so, or by the end of the year. You can do that. True or false, number of new clients, task completed, you name it. So task completed, I believe, can be, you can add it certain lists, add certain tasks that are required, but we're going to just stick with the currency one for now. So you can see that you can add multiple targets. So let's say I got $300. You can save the update, and then there you have it. So it just makes it really easy for you to track. I'm 1% of the way there. Let's give them a big boost. And then 68%. So it just like makes it really easy for you to stay on track and see how you're moving along towards your goal. Are you making progress? So it's just nice. And then you have this dashboard. You can create folders. So I guess that's a paid feature, just to keep in mind. They do have like workload, which is kind of neat. Again, so I think I have estimated 50 hours. So like if you're using the time estimates, like this is where you can see like this person is assigned this task and it's supposed to take 50 hours. It's way too much time for this one person to take on. So that's kind of neat to be able to see that bird's eye view, how much capacity someone has, and you can, I believe, edit it. So yeah, it says I've got 40 hours in a week and I'm over my capacity, especially for one day. And then you might be wondering, what about the company? I'd say that they're very innovative. They're very quick to iterate, that their support is very responsive. In my experience so far, very responsive. I will say that people have experienced issues with ClickUp. I personally haven't experienced none enough that I would say it's worth noting about. I have noted that their mobile app for me has been a little bit buggy since the transition to the new 3.0, but I'm sure that will get solved as time goes on. The next thing I want to dive into is the pricing. So the free personal plan gives you a lot of functionality. You are limited on storage. So once you pay for the next tier up, you get unlimited storage. And so if that's something that you need, you get unlimited tasks with the free plan, unlimited free plan members, 2-factor authentication, collaborative docs, whiteboards, everything view. So Kanban boards, but sometimes you have to scroll down to the individual breakdown of, let's see, complete feature list. You have to just look at this because list space, you get 100. So the free forever, I guess, is not AI compatible, something to keep in mind. Custom fields, again, you only get 60 uses. So something to keep in mind. Guests must be given full access, no permissions. So that's something to keep in mind, is that if you want to add guests, they might get access to stuff that you don't want them to. The free plan, you're limited to 3 whiteboards. So something to keep in mind. With embeds, you get 60 uses. Forms not available. So that's an alternative if you don't want to use a Zapier to have them automatically bring that over. If you use their forms, then obviously you can have it where the form gets right in. They also have automations available. Let me see if I can see it here. Goals, you get 100 uses. Dashboards, 100 uses. Time tracking is now no longer available in the free version. You have to get the paid version to get some of those features. Sprint points, you get 100 uses of those. So just keep in mind all of these little things that you might get or might not get in the free version. So that might be a make or break for you using the free version. If you really need time tracking built into your project management tool. It does integrate with, I think, Toggle and some other time tracking tools. So you might be able to find a workaround for that aspect if that's something important to you. So this shows you the different views. You do get a lot of views in the free version. So I would say if you're just using it for personal use and or you have a very simple structure, the free plan probably is going to be good enough for you. If you're looking for more functionality with the time tracking and have more functionality with the custom fields, then I would say that the $7 per month, it's per member per month. So keep that in mind. That could work well. If you got a larger team and you want some of the more advanced functionality, advanced time tracking, then the business plan might be for you. And if you've got a huge team, enterprise is probably what you need. And then they have ClickUp AI, which you add on $5 per month per member, so that if you want to use some of these functionalities, you can do that. And if you want to check out ClickUp, please feel free to use my link in the description. It's my affiliate link. So if you just use the free version, it's still free. If you use the paid version, then ClickUp will give me a little bit of a kickback on your purchase, but no pressure. Obviously I recommend using what you need. If you can get by with a free version, then just use that. But I'm curious to hear from you. What do you use, and is it working well for you? I'd be curious to hear what project management tool you're using. And then let me share with you what I don't like about ClickUp. So the initial rollout of ClickUp 3.0 has been somewhat of a sore point for many members because, they had promised these times that they would be released by, and it's just been a little bit slower than expected. The good news is, what I appreciate is that they're owning up to that aspect, that things did not go as planned. And so at least they're being honest, but it was very, disappointing when, they showed this shiny new version of it, and they say oh, you're not going to get it until a while. And we just scratched the surface. There's like so many other things that you can use with this. Like they have the search functionality for you to quickly like see all of your things. Like you can search for tasks, docs, whiteboards. So it makes it really convenient for you to quickly access things. So just something to keep in mind. The last thing I'll say is I was surprised at how many features that they now have under a paywall. So keep that in mind. Maybe there's functionalities that is free today that might become paid. So obviously, if you're paying for it, you get a lot of functionality, a lot of great use cases, but you never know if they might take away some of those aspects. I still have access to some of these free things that are now paid. So I don't know if they'll eventually take that away or if they're, grandfathering me in, but something to keep in mind. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly hop back in here and let you know about the difference between reminders and tasks. So for the most part, I would recommend sticking with tasks. Reminders are good, but the thing is you can't have like as much detail as you can with the actual task. So with a task, you can add all these custom fields, all this information. You can have the activity view where you can have comments and you can actually reply to comments. It's really cool. So you can start a thread. This is a thread reply. And so you can see that right there. And then if I go back, you can see that there's a comment on there and you click into it. You can get so much more with a task. Whereas if you just need like a quick reminder to call somebody, that probably is what I'd recommend using it for. Otherwise, you don't really get much functionality. So, but I guess on the plus side, you can add it to a list. So you can convert it to a task if you need to. You can I guess it's a paid version. You can delegate in the paid version. So something to keep in mind. So perhaps you'd have to create it into a list for the free people using the free plan. You'd have to make it into the list and then assign someone to that task. So something to keep in mind. And then when tasks are overdue, just so you can see what it looks like. So I am actually going to make this. Let's see here. Change date. It was due on Sunday last week. I don't know why it would have been due on Sunday. Let's say Friday. That would be more realistic. And so you can see that it's overdue. And you can quickly move them between these. So I can make it due today by just dragging it there, or I can make it next. Usually I think it assigns it to the next day. So, oops, I think I moved to the wrong place. So you can see, it's due tomorrow. You can see the important flag. So yeah, that's just like a quick overview of the difference between reminders and tasks. Generally speaking, tasks are probably the way to go. And between checklists and tasks, or subtasks, I would typically recommend using a subtask. I just feel like checklists, they're good, but you can't add due dates to them. So often checklists, I think, are the way to go. And again, my method, I typically recommend, instead of having tons of lists, is try to think about it as simple as possible. So instead of having multiple lists for each client, I feel like sometimes it's nicer to have just a place, a catch-all for those projects. And then you can have the individual, let's say you have a project for a client as a to-do item. And that way it's very nice and clean. You can write any details that you have in one place versus if you have multiple tasks, you have different information all over the place. And that's one of the issues that I found with subtasks is sometimes I put details in a subtask and then I want to access it. And then it was kind of lost. And so when you have one place, it's kind of nice. And then, obviously another great way is having comments and assigning those so that you can go back and find those details in one place. So just keep that in mind. Instead of having multiple lists, maybe consider having an individual task as a project instead of having a whole entire list with all the different tasks in a list view. I just feel like that might be an easier way. Although they do make it simple to see a bird's eye view, which is nice. But again, my personal preference, keep it simple as you're able to and not overcomplicate things as you can. So I do feel like ClickUp is a double-edged sword. While it does offer tons of functionality and great features for you to get your stuff done, it's also very complex and offers a ton of features for you to get buried in. So for example, if you end up spending so much time setting up your spaces and your folders and your lists and your sprints and all of that, and you end up spending more time just getting that aspect done than actually doing the work, then I would recommend maybe skipping ClickUp and going with something a little bit more simple. Like for example, Trello is very simple. It's very like Kanban style. You just drag and click. So keep that in mind. If you want me to review something else, or there's like another tool that you're interested in and you'd like me to get my feedback on it so you don't have to spend the time and energy researching things, feel free to let me know in the description. I'd be happy to take a look at that. There's many different ones that I've tried already, so there's a good chance that I already have an opinion on that software if you want me to share on that. But yeah, overall, I think it's a great software if it fits into your workflow. So keep that in mind so that you can stay productive. Well, I hope this was helpful to you. I know there's so much that you can learn in ClickUp, so much that you can explore, try. And so my recommendation to you is try it out. Use my link in the description, test it out, see if it works for you, see if it works in your processes. Let me know how it goes for you. And until next time, my friends, stay messy.